Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan the Ride Mechanic channel. I am Ryan the Ride Mechanic, and today I wanted to go over something not quite ride related, but still in the amusement industry. I wanted to go over some games. So my question to you is, do you want to play a game? Wait, my question to you is,
Do you want to play? Do you want to play a game? Do you want to play a game?
wait a minute. Let me get a character, hold on.
Do you want to play a game?
I thought I nailed that one. Nailed that pretty good. Let's get into it.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
So what's the best part of the day about going to an amusement park? It's obviously the games, right? No, it's actually the rides. This is just a byproduct video, don't worry about that. But anyways, we're going to be talking about games, so we're going to be talking about midway games and things that you'd find all over the park scattered around and what they're designed and intended to do. And then let's talk about carnivals too. It's like, what's the best thing about going to a carnival? The rides, right? No, it's the games. Don't go on rides at carnivals. How many times have I told you guys this? Stay off rides at carnivals. You'll live longer. So let's talk about design of games. So what are games designed to do? Games are designed for one thing in mind, and that is to take the money out of your pocket quickly and rapidly and in succession to make sure that you do not leave the park or carnival with more money than when you came. Just like any game, these are games of chance. Some of them are games of skill, but the odds are typically not stacked in your favor. The odds are typically making sure that the carnival or amusement park is going to get what they want, which is your money. So let's go over some games and talk about what there are. There's the classic ones, which are simply just video games. Parks with arcades still make a lot of money off of arcades. People looking to get in, take a little air-conditioned break, and they put some money in those games, and they have fun. They stand there for roughly 30 minutes at a time. Most families will spend $40 to $60 inside that arcade. You say, wow, that's a lot of money. It's like, you got to remember, it's family. So you're going to have like 2 to 3 to 4 people all playing games at the same time. And the last time I checked, the games that used to cost 25 cents now cost 50, now cost $1.25 depending on where you're going. Dave & Buster's, I'm looking at you. No, I'm just kidding. So you can go around and play games that are luck driven, which means that you really don't have any real consistency to win. There are typically things that are rotating and spinning that kind of come across as a game of skill, but there's really not much skill to them. It's kind of a 50-50. You put them in. It's like the games where you pull the big handle up and you spin the giant wheel and get tickets from it. It's like that's just a game of chance. It's the same thing as gambling. And then there are games of skill out there. These are things you find. They're typically bigger in midways, and you'll find them scattered around parks too. When I went to Six Flags over Texas, they had a hanging challenge, which was simply just you could hang on the bar, and if you could hang there for 2 minutes, you won a big prize. And they were pretty big prizes. So obviously my son wanted to do it because he's like, I could hang there for 2 minutes. He made it up to like 1 minute 40 seconds, which is way more than I could do, because I could do the same exact time. If you move the decimal place over 1, I could do about 1.4 seconds hanging. That's right. I'm pretty strong. 1.4 seconds. And then there's, of course, the favorite basketball games that are typically pop up all over parks, which are, if you could stand at the 3-point line and make a shot, you can get a prize. But if they give you typically like a time frame or something like that, and if you could put like 5 baskets in there from the 3-point line or something along those lines, you can get a really big prize. So that has a lot of people's attention. I've seen tons of people put money into that one, and they go out there because those aren't cheap. Those are like $5, $6, $8 a shot when you go up there and do that. And most of the time they use legitimate stuff on those type of games when they're games of skill like that. But most of the time it's just the fatigue on the person. They've been walking around an amusement park all day. They have not warmed up at all, because when you go to a basketball court, you start warming up, you start bouncing the ball, you make a bunch of shots to start with. Well, you might be really good at playing basketball, but if you go to a restaurant and you're sitting there eating and suddenly someone hands you a ball and says, here, put that in that hoop like you normally do, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to make that shot. You're going to have to put in 3 or 4 rounds worth to get warmed up enough to make the shot. These skill games are quite predominant in midway areas of parks. Most parks have a midway area, just like a carnival does. And that's where you find the more scammy type things, like the balloons, where you throw a dart and pop a balloon. And you think, well, most people could do that. Well, the balloons are heavier grade latex. There's nothing special to them. They're just, when you size latex balloons, they come in, 4 mil, 2 mil, 6 mil, 8 mil. So you buy thicker balloons, and you buy bigger balloons too. And you say, well, what's the size have to do with anything? Because if I buy a 12-inch balloon and I only inflate it to a 6-inch sphere, then that thing is pretty much indestructible at that point in time. And the darts are not very sharp either. So they most of the time will literally hit a balloon and bounce off of it, even if the tip goes in first. I'm not going to do it. That's what she said joke. I'm not going to do it. 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 The other one that I like to do is the baskets. The basket that's there. It's got a basket turned at like a 45-degree angle, and you have to hit the ball in there. And you could look online. There's all sorts of tricks to winning these things. On that basket one, I know for sure because that's at a 45-degree angle like that. The trick is you have to get the ball to actually hit on that lip and roll into the basket. Because any other angle, like if you hit the back side of the basket, it just jumps right back out of there. And then there's other things which are very deceiving, like the old ball in the milk jug container, where the milk jug container has a very flat surface on top of it. And you pretty much have to, like a golf game, you pretty much have to get a hole in one. That ball has to go straight in. And the ball is pretty big, and the size of that hole is pretty small. So it's tough to get that in there. So there's lots of money there, making bounce off and this and that. Then there's the infamous 3 milk bottles on a stool that you have to hit. And most people, it used to be like, oh, if you just hit them and knock all 3 down, you win. Well, everything was getting better, and actually things were getting tighter, and people were able to do it more and more and more. So they started using things like heavier milk bottles. And now they don't even use milk bottles. They make custom-made bottles to do that stuff. So they're weighted, they're much heavier, and either have a larger lip on top to sit with, so the surface area is off on them. And then they give you a ball that's not a heavy baseball, it's a lighter weight baseball. And then a lot of places say, like, oh, you not only have to knock all 3 over, but you have to knock them off the stand. And then you look at the stand, and the stand is lined with nylon rope on the outside, making like a lip for it almost impossible to get off of there. Some people can do it, absolutely. The trick with that one, not to win, but one of the tricks that they use on that one is actually to move the bottles close to you. And you would think, well, you think you can throw the ball faster, closer, so why would that be a bad thing? It's because typically your aim, when you throw a ball, you're aiming for something that's 50 feet away. And your brain, your hand-eye coordination has already been set for that. Because if you're throwing that, that probably means you're pretty good at doing like baseball and stuff like that. Try to take that same fastball that you want to throw at the baseball park and throw it 5 feet away from you. I almost guarantee you won't hit anything that close to you. So they move the bottles a little bit closer, heavier, wider, and then say you have to knock all 3 off. By the way, if you want to get that one, it has to be in the center at the base is what you have to do. The last thing I want to talk about on these games of skill are the prizes. The prizes may look awesome back there, but they are always cheap knockoffs of whatever it is you're looking at. So, they have these really big, it never fails. The kids want, there's a giant teddy bear back there, and the kids really want that. And the dad thinks, yeah, I can probably do that. And the teddy bear is like 48 inches tall. It's this huge teddy bear. So the dad's like, yeah, I'm going to try it. And the dad will spend $20, maybe $40 trying to get that teddy bear. Might get the teddy bear, might not. But they're going to try, especially if the kids want it. And the average rule of thumb that I've kind of seen working at a permanent amusement park, not a carnival, but working at a permanent amusement park, is that the cost you put into whatever it is for those big prizes if you're at say a ring toss game, on those type of games, basically you pay $5 for a bucket of rings, and if you win the large prize, let's say you paid $5 for that bucket. That prize in back, that large one, will probably cost roughly $20 for the park to actually get. So you figure every 4 buckets that somebody buys pays for one of those larger prizes. The small prizes that you can get easily is probably about $3.50. So, like, as soon as you put money down for the game, you've already paid for the prize. And that's quite evident once you get it and you start looking at it. It's like, oh yeah, they're really cheap knockoffs if there's something, or they're really flimsy, they're really cheesy, because again, games are designed to make money. At this point in the video, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you want to see more content, let me know how this video is doing, because it's not about rides, so I'm not sure if this is going to go over like a fart in church or not, but we're going to find out. So please like and subscribe. Go check out my other content. I swear I talk about rides on other videos, so I promise. Go check them out, subscribe, leave comments. I love to see the comments. All right, now we're going to move into the real money makers. These are the games of chance. And you can say that some of them are games of skill, and I'll point out a couple of them, but they're really games of chance. The most infamous one that you could possibly think of out there, and it's why when you go to Dave & Buster's and arcades around at malls, and you'll see these just sprinkled around everywhere. They're the biggest money maker possible out there. They are the infamous the claw machine. The claw machines are such a high dollar money maker. They make so much money for the parks and arcades. It's just incredible what they pull in. And the reason is it's because it seems so simple. You position the claw over a stuffed animal, a roll of tickets, or something, and you hit the button and it goes down and gets it. And you ever gotten down there where it goes down and it gets its claw all the way around whatever it is, and then as it goes up, it releases and then goes over, and maybe it picks it up, and then as soon as it starts to move back over to the side, it drops it? So I had the unique opportunity talking with one of the guys working on them, because at amusement parks, the amusement park does not handle those machines on their own. They are in charge of filling them with the product on the inside, but they don't actually handle them. They typically hire an outside company to come in and make sure all the bill pay is working properly and the coin changers and all that other stuff is working. So it was quite interesting on that claw machine specifically. The way it's constructed, there is servo motors on an X and Y axis moving with each other this way. So you got one position's closer to you, further from you, the other position's left to right. Some machines use those servo motors, and when they control that motor, there's a drift into the motor. So when you move the thing to the left and you say stop, some of those machines, especially like the keys, like you've seen those machines where the key has to go out and then grab the product and pull it back, they have a drift set into the motor to where it doesn't just, as soon as you take your hand off the joystick, it doesn't just stop dead center. You take your hand off and it slowly stops. And the thing is, as you put more quarters into that, or as you put more credits into it, that drift becomes less and less and less and less, and it becomes more of a precise stop. This takes a long time to do. Whereas going with that is that the same thing with the claw. At the end of it, you have that big electromagnetic coil that causes the claw to grab. Well, if I go through that coil and I put 24 volts through it at, I don't know, half an amp, that thing is going to slam shut, and it's going to be able to pick up whatever it wants to. Like, I could pick up a beer bottle with that thing if I put that much voltage and amperage through it. So the same thing with that claw. What they do is that when you start, when that machine is turned on, they say put 24 volts through it, but we're going to regulate the milliamps running through the coil so the magnet's not that strong. So you say put 24 volts to it, but we're going to put in 30 milliamps. Well, 30 milliamps on that claw is just barely enough to close the claw. And you could blow on it and that claw will open back up and then close again. So it's nothing. But the more credits you pump into it, the tighter it starts to grab. It starts to grab more and more and more and more and get harder and harder. And about 3/4 of the way through its cycle, it can actually start to pick up stuff. Before it was just kind of nudging and moving things, but about 3/4 of the way through its cycle, it can actually start to pick up stuff. But like the tech that I was talking with, he says that that cycle is set for about 740 or 750 credits. So every time you played the game is 1 credit. So that means that 749 is the absolute strongest that magnetic field is going to be. And it's going to be the strongest at grabbing things and picking them up. And then as soon as you roll past that 750, it resets and it goes back to not picking anything up. So that's one of the ways they get you in there, is because you could see that people maybe grab something and it picks it up, and that window that you have to do that is closing, and you're just going to pump more and more money into it. And at that point, it kind of starts to become a game of skill, but it's really not, because you're still relying on that magnetic force to pick that thing up. Same thing with the key drifts. They slow down more and more and more, and then they get more precise, and then you pass a certain point in the credits, and then they start to drift a lot again, to where you say, hey, stop here, and it actually goes and stops over there. So these games are extremely good at taking money, and the odds are always stacked against you, but there are times you can align your skills and the odds, and you can win stuff. There are tons of videos out there. I've seen them personally. I want to watch a bunch of these because they're really interesting, and they have all sorts of like, oh yeah, if you go to this game and you put it in there and then you tap the button 3 times and then you press this corner and that corner and that corner and this corner, and then it does this and it puts it into a program mode and you can do that. The majority of those videos are absolutely fake. There is nothing to those machines like that. I love those videos because when they're like, yeah, you touch the glass in this corner, and it's like, I've gone to those machines, I've seen that stuff, and there's nothing in those corners. There's not extra switches, there's not anything else. And when you put something like that into like a maintenance mode where you can check those things, you have all sorts of bells and whistles going off saying that you're doing something out of the ordinary. It is not something you could just walk up to a machine and put it in like a maintenance check or like a service check. One of the big things about that is like casinos. They have all sorts of things to prevent that stuff. And again, like a carnival, they are there to take your money. They're going to tell you they're giving you something back, but not really. Your odds are stacked against you in that too. Let me show you. Down here in my basement, I've actually got an old slot machine. We love this old Munster slot machine, so we called up and got it used from a particular company, and they loaded up the programming and badging and everything and sent it forward to us. So we have it just sitting down here in the basement. But one question they asked me, which is what was kind of weird, they said, well, what do you want the payout to be? And I said, what do you mean? What do you want the payout to be? And they said, yeah, you can determine how much the slot machine will pay you back. And I'm like, give me an example. And they say, if you set the slot machine to 100% payback, if you bet 80 credits, that machine will give you the 80 credits right back. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And they said, yeah, so casinos typically set the payback around 93% is what it is. You got to remember, this is on law of averages, and it's going a very long time. Just because it says it's going to pay you something back doesn't mean that it's going to do it instantaneously. Or if you get the jackpot, if you didn't bet the maximum bets on that jackpot, then it's not going to pay you back anything. So you have to, the way casinos work is you have to play the maximum bet to get the jackpot when it hits that thing. So I asked them, I said, well, what's good for a home casino? And they said between 94 and 96%. And I'm like, oh, so what's the difference? And they said, well, if you drop it too low in the 94 below range, it feels like you never win. And nobody wants to do that, especially when, like this one, I don't have to put money into it. It's got a program, I can just add money to it digitally, since it doesn't take cash. And they said once you go past about 96%, once you go off that end of the range, They're like, it pays out all the time, and then it doesn't feel like a challenge. So this is roughly the same window casinos play in as well. They say, okay, let's keep it in this little range. The ones that are closer to the 96% range, somewhere around there, those will be the ones that are closer to your buffets, closer to your aisle walkways, where people will visually see you winning more money, and they want to stay there and do that. The other ones that are towards the back of the casino where no one is, those are the ones people have that hunch on, and those are the ones that are set low because they just sit there and eat money. They do pay out, but it's very rare until the casino is like super packed. So you're able to set that on these machines. Okay, hopefully you guys can see all this. I know I'm going to get questions on this, so I'll just show you right now. Machine's on, yes, it works. And then all we have to do is get into the machine to figure out its payback. So you need, at a casino, you need a key, and this is the same with every other game. This is why I was saying those videos that they make where you're like, oh, you touch the corners of the screen, or if you touch these corners up here, it does this. It's like, those aren't things. So we turn the attendant key, which I put inside, get to the attendant menu. Hopefully this won't be too bad with all the glare and everything. Sorry, but it's dark down here. Got to do what I got to do, right? And for this machine, we're going to go into this guy, counting history. And it's going to give us all these options up here. You can go to master machine accounting, and it will tell you everything that the machine has done. It tells you total played, coins won, jackpots won, cash in vouchers, cash out vouchers. You can cycle through the pages and see everything that this machine has been doing. So if we go back on here, we're going to go down to this one function right here called game accounting. And then you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, maybe I could hopefully zoom in on it. But if you can see right here, these are the percentage payouts. You've got everything from 85% to 98%, and our particular game is set right here at 94.02%. And that's where we like to play this game, because you get a couple spins on it and it pays out. And no, we don't win actual money from it, but we still enjoy playing this game. It's quite fun. So we'll just return to the game here. Now let's see if we're lucky. Sweet. That video was not done in multiple takes. It was the first time for that one, so that was pretty amazing. Anyways, I'm Ryan the Ride Mechanic. If you like it, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And remember, stay off the air gates. Bye.